Hello, guys. Welcome to part six of SWORD. Okay, and this is the part. This is the last part before we start solving questions, as mentioned in part five. So the last part in SWORD is what we know as conjugate, conjugate of binomial SWORD, conjugate of binomial SWORD. Okay. Now, before we can tackle this part, this particular subtopic in SWORD, we need to apply difference of two square, maybe like a plus b, a minus b. This is difference of two square. We see this most especially in quadratic formula, the one that we normally call almighty formula. Okay, so but this is what we call difference of two square. So what do we mean by conjugate? There are some expression in SWORD that that you will see. Let me just give an example. E.g., example of conjugate of binomial SWORD. We have, let's say, a plus root b. Okay, so if you look at this very well, why do we call it binomial SWORD? Look at a. A does not have SWORD. It's just ordinary a plus root b. Now root b is having SWORD. Okay, that is square root of b is having SWORD, but a is not having SWORD. But it's an addition that combines them. So the question I ask myself, or you can also ask yourself, how do I solve this kind of um, you know, this kind of question under SWORD? So that is why we call it conjugates. And the only way we can do it is just to apply this difference of two square. Okay, this is what we call difference of two square. So what the law of conjugates says that anytime you have such expression, multiply that expression with the opposite sign. Okay, repeat the same values or the same figure. Okay, but change the sign. Do you understand me now? What do I mean by this? Now, this is the value, this is the example I'm talking about. The opposite of this sign is what? A minus root b. Okay, so this is the question and this is the opposite. Okay, this is the question and this is the opposite sign. Opposite sign, that is n. So if you look at this one very well, so what conjugate is saying is that anytime you see binomial SWORD, why by? Because it's 2. Why are we making it 2? This is a question. What am I changing here? I'm just changing the plus sign to what? Negative. So the law behind you solving a conjugate is that multiply the question with the opposite sign of that binomial SWORD. Okay, so this is the opposite sign there. So what I mean by this one is that a plus root b times a minus root b. Okay, this one is a times a square. A times root b. No, don't forget there's minus here, minus a root b. So you can have a times root b, that's plus a root b. Okay, plus times minus is what? Minus. Okay, so b times b, don't forget, look at it now, root b times root b, that is multiplication in SWORD. So pick one root and say b times b. It's as simple as that. Okay, so this one is the same thing as a root square. Don't forget, minus a root b plus a root b will cancel out. It's just minus x plus x. Okay, minus 1 plus 1, minus 2 plus 2. That is exactly what is playing out here. Minus 3 plus 3. All these ones is equals to 0, 0, 0, and they will cancel out, cancel out, cancel out. The same thing applies here. So this one cancel out. Okay, it will now remain square root of b square. Don't forget, I said square is the same thing as power half. So a2 minus b2 raised to power times 1 over 2. So when you cancel, okay, so it means that this is what? A square minus b. So that's the answer. Okay, so that's the conjugate we are talking about here. Okay, so which means that there is nothing like SURD again in the answer. So don't forget, you apply difference of two square. If your question says a minus b, it means the opposite, which is the conjugate, is what? A plus root b. Okay, let me give an example. Don't let me mention it with word now. Let me just use an example so that you can understand what I'm trying to say here. It's very simple. It's very simple. Just follow it. Follow the example, and we will still solve as many questions as possible that we can lay our hand on. So let's say example number 1. Okay, I was given 3 plus root 3 plus root 2. Okay, this is a binomial sort. Okay, because 3 has no root, but the other side has roots. 3 plus root 2. So what do I need to do here? All I need to do is just to write multiply. Okay, multiply binomial sum with the conjugate. Conjugate means the opposite sign of the question. So this is the conjugate here, 3 minus root 2. Okay, so that implies if I want to multiply, it will now be 3 plus root 2. Okay, which is this 3 plus root 2. Then this is the conjugate. This is the conjugate. That's 3 minus root 2. It's as simple as that. So what do I need to do here? 3 times 3 is what? 9. I'm trying to multiply both of them. You first multiply this with this. 3 times 3. Okay. You multiply this with this. Okay. That's the first step. Okay. Step 2. Step 1. Step 2. 3 times 3. That is 9. Okay. 3 times minus root 2. That will give you what? Minus 3 root 2. Multiplication. We are multiplying. So the same thing apply here. Plus root 2 times 3 will give us what? Plus 3 root 2. Okay. So now look at this very well. Plus times minus will give us what? Minus. Multiplication. Pick one root and times one in the bracket. 2 times 2. Okay. Step 1. 3 times 3. 9. 3 times minus root 2 will give us minus 3 root 2. Okay. Step 2. Step 3 will now be this and this. Multiply. So 3 times plus root 2 will give us what? 3 root 2. Okay. So this is step 3. Okay. Step 4 will now be this one. Okay. You multiply. Times. Times. So times and times. Okay. So that will now be, this one will now be multiplication. Root 2 plus root 2 minus root 2. Plus times minus is what? Minus. Okay. Then 2 times 2 is what? 4. Root times root is root. So that's how you pick one root. Then that will now be 9. Don't forget, I said minus 1 plus 1 will be equals to 0. Minus a plus a will be equals to 0. The same thing apply here. So this one will cancel this. Then you now have 9 minus square root of what? 4. 9 minus, what is the square root of 4? That is what? 2. 9 minus 2, so the answer is what? 7. So it's as simple as that. Okay, so don't forget the condition behind binomial sort. Okay, so multiply anytime you see questions like this. Okay, that the one before the sign is not carrying sword, the other one is carrying sword. That is what we call binomial sword. So you need to multiply it by the conjugate. Okay, so and the conjugate of 3 plus root 2 is what? 3 minus root 2. The only thing you are changing is the sign. Let's assume it's minus that is here. It means you put a plus here. Okay, difference of 2 square. And if you are multiplying, don't forget that was why I write it. Step 1, 3 times 3, 9. Step 2, 3 times minus root 2 will give us what? Minus 3 root 2. Okay. Step 4. Okay. Step 2. Okay. Step 2, 3 times minus, that's 3. Then step 3 will now be what? Plus root 2. Okay. Times 3 will give us what? Plus 3 root 2. Okay. Then the step 4, which is this is step 4 here, times step 4. So step 4 will now be pick one root, then 2 times 2. That's multiplication in sort that I mentioned in one of our classes, which is part 2 or part 3. So now it means, and I've told you, minus and plus the same value. 3 root 2, 3 root 2 is the same, which is 1. 1. It can represent 1, it can represent a. Okay, so they can cancel each other. That will be 9 minus root 4. So root 4 is what? 2. So 9 minus 2 will give us what? 7. So it's as simple as that. Okay, so it's very, very important you understand what we mean by conjugates. So the same thing applies when you have, when the sword it also appear before the sign. Okay, so let's assume example 2. Okay, we say, let's say 4 root 5, 4 root 5 plus 3. You understand? They say 4 root 5 plus 3. Maybe they say you should simplify or perhaps solve this particular sword. All you just need to do, what is the conjugate? The conjugate is 4 root 5 minus 3. Okay? So then multiply. So multiplication will now be 4 root 5, 4 root 5 plus 3, 4 root 5 minus 3. So which is this one? Okay, the conjugate. That's what I said. Conjugate means multiply the sword by the opposite sign of the question. Okay, so you can see that this is the question here. So this is the conjugate here. So I'm multiplying now. This is step 1. I multiply this together. Okay, before square root or before 4, before the sword, 4 times 4, step 1. 4 times 4, that is what? 16. Look at this. 5 times 5, that's the square root of what? 25. Step 1. 4 times 4, 16. Outside plus outside, multiply. Inside plus inside, multiply. Okay? Now, step 2. This is step 2 here. I'm doing this so that you won't get confused. Okay? That will be, look at it now. Step 2. That is outside. This one has no square. So this is 4 times 3. That's what? Minus 12. Don't forget this minus. Okay? That's minus 12 root what? 5. So look at now. This is step 3. I'm multiplying. Okay? That is 3 times what? 4. Look at it. Outside. There's no square root here. 4 times 3. That is plus. Don't forget the plus sign here. Plus 12. Okay? Root 5. That's step 3. Okay? Step 3. Now, this is what? Step 4. Step 4, you are multiplying. Step 4. Okay? So that will be what? 3 times what? 3. And that will give us, and don't forget, plus times minus is what? Minus. 3 times 3 is what? 9. So this will now be 16. What's the square root of 25? Is what? 5. Square root of 25 is what? 5. Square root of 25 is 5. Okay? This one will cancel. Don't forget. Minus b plus b. Okay? Because it's the same thing. So that will now be minus 9. Okay, square root of 25 is 5. 16, you bring it down. So 6 times 5, 30. Carry 3, 5, that's 80. 80 minus what? 9. So 80 minus 9 will give us what? 71. So that's the correct answer. Okay, please. This part is it's also very important. Okay, so but just follow the way as presented in this presentation. Like when you are multiplying, this is where you can easily make mistake. Okay, when you're multiplying, but be careful when you're multiplying. That's why I'm taking it step by step. When you're multiplying, outside, you multiply outside with outside, you multiply inside the sword with inside the sword. Okay, so if there's no inside sword in any of the figure you're multiplying, so just multiply outside and outside. Okay, just follow that. Outside with outside, that is before the sword, then inside the sword. That's how you multiply. Okay, which is what we've done here. 4 times 4, 16. 5 times 5, 25. Okay, that's square root of 25. So now I pick the square root. So the step 2, which is what? This one times this. Look at this one now. This one is outside with outside. 4 is outside before the sword. 3 is also outside. There's no sword here. That's why I say 4 times 3. That gives me 12. And I'll pick the one that is outside, which is root 5. The same thing, step 3. 3 is outside. 4 is outside. Okay. And I'll say 4 times 3. That is what? 12. Okay. And I pick root 5. Now look at this, the step 4. 3 and 3. So they don't have sword at all. They're both outside. That's why you see 3 times 3 will give me what? 9. It's very simple. Okay. So 16. I know square root of 25 is what? 5. That's the 16 here. This will cancel each other. I've told you minus 1 plus 1 will cancel each other. Minus 1 plus 1 cancel. Minus 2 plus 2 cancel. Minus a plus a cancel. So the same thing applies here. You see that this one is the same thing. 12 root 5, 12 root 5. So they are the same. So they cancel. So now we now have 16 times 5 will give you what? 80 here. Then minus the 9 that you have here. So that will now give you, okay, so that will give you 71. Don't forget, we got this minus because plus times minus is what? Minus. So, and I hope that this is this is clear. Okay, so in some cases when you see root 5 plus root 2, okay, you can also do the conjugates. It's not compulsory sometimes, okay, that you will only see 4 root 5 and the other part will not have roots. Sometimes you can have root, but it will not be the same value. For additional sword, I said the under root must be the same before you can add them. But in this case, it will not be the same. So it means you need to apply conjugate sword. What am I trying to say? Okay, let me just quickly chip in that so that when we solve similar question, you understand what I'm trying to say here. So look at this now. Let's say example 3. You can have root 2 plus root 3. So if you have root 2 plus root 3, okay, though I've also mentioned that maybe most times you don't see maybe one will be 2, the other one will be root 3. But in this case too, what do? The conjugate, let's say this one is 1. Conjugate, of 1 above is root 2 minus root 3. Do you see it now? So what's the next step? The next step is to multiply. You can name this one as what? 2. Multiply 1 and what? And 2. Okay? So it means this is 2 plus root 3 times root 2 minus root what? 3. Very simple. So what do you now do? You now do this. Step 1, multiply. Okay? Multiply. That's times. So 2 times 2. Pick one root. 2 times 2 is what? 4. Okay? Now, step 2, multiply. Multiply this with this. So both of them are inside. That is what? Minus root 6. That's 3 times 2 is what? 6. Okay? So step 3, multiply. So step 3. So this is 2. So look at it. Both of them are inside. 3 times 2, 6 plus. Okay. That's plus root 6. Do you see it now? So step 4. Multiply this together. Step 4. Okay. So step 4. That will be 3 times 3. That will be what? Square root of 9. Okay. This one will cancel each other because they are the same. So root 4 is what? 2. That's plus. What is root 9? That's 3. So the answer is equals to what? 5. So this one is 2 square root of 4. This one is what? Square root of what? 3. So the answer is 5. So at this juncture, um, I think we'll finish all the topic in sorts. So what we just need to focus on is solving as many questions as possible. Past questions, at least you will see it, and then so that we can appreciate and see how seamless, how interesting mathematics can be. So please, I would like you to share, like, comment, and ensure that other students can also benefit from it, and to see how simple this particular topic is in mathematics. Thank you very much. Cheers.